prostate cancer. So they have tried to include a lot of slides, but we will try to make the presentation more concise. So it is divided into two parts. One is introduction, PARP inhibitors, then the PROFOUND trial, and a brief summary about the guideline recommendations. As we all know, the prostate cancer ranks among 16th incidence by 16th place, and causes around 25,600 incidents and around 17,000 deaths as per the Globocan 2018. And overall, the prognosis of CRPC is very poor. As we all know, they live for around 1 to 2 years. And incidence of prostate cancer in India is much lesser compared to the Western world. We all know, France, Australia. France has got an incidence of 99 per 1 lakh. Australia has got 86 per 1 lakh, and US got 76 per 1 lakh, compared to India where it is 4 per 1 lakh. And the average age is in the bracket of 65 to 74 with a median age of 66 years. But as we are seeing in our clinical practice, more and more young people are diagnosed with prostate cancer. And it is comprised of multiple disease states. As we all know, localized, non-metastatic CRPC, hormone-sensitive metastatic, and castration-resistant prostate cancer. We are mainly seeing the metastatic CRPC in this presentation today. We all know it is a biologically heterogeneous disease, and genetically aberrant pathways are involved, like androgen receptor, P13K, DDR, WNT, and cell cycle related signaling. And 23% of the mutations are identified in DNA repair pathways. And DNA repair pathways are mainly involved with the PARP inhibitors. And mutation in the DNA repair pathways can lead to genetic instability, and they hence drive the tumor growth. HRR, including ATM, BRCA1 and 2, PALB2, CHEK1 and 2, RAD51, are the genes involved in HRR pathway, and it is a key mechanism for the repair of DNA double-stranded breaks. And which are the DNA repair gene aberrations? BRCA2 comprises around 8.6% of the patients, germline. BRCA2 somatic 7.7. Combinedly, they constitute around 16% of the germline somatic aberration frequencies. BRCA1 germline 0.9, BRCA1 somatic 0.9, ATM 2.3, ATM somatic 4.5. So ATM altogether constitutes around 7%. CHEK2 germline and CHEK2 somatic around 5% of the patients. And no mutation in the DNA damage in the rest of the 73% of the patients. And NCCN acknowledges the prostate cancer heterogeneity, and they suggest, they recommend germline testing of HRR or BRCA screening in high risk and very high risk among the regional, and in the metastatic also it is recommended. And the molecular and biomarker testing of the tumor is recommended if the expected life expectancy is 10 years or more. Here you can do HRR gene mutation and MSI testing. And other guidelines are not currently recommending any genetic testing. So we in this last 10 or 15 slides, we saw prostate cancer is the second most common cancer in men. Over 1.3 million cases diagnosed globally as of 2018 data. Metastatic prostate cancer is a considerable clinical problem, and significant advances in the metastatic CRPC. Median overall survival is around 3 years. And DNA repair aberrations are enriched in patients with local region biochemically recurrent and metastatic CRPC. And now we are talking about the landmark PROFOUND trial. We all know that CRPC, metastatic CRPC, despite the advance of docetaxel, is still lethal cancer. And they around 30%, as we saw in the previous slide, consists of deleterious DNA damage repair genes with the direct and indirect roles in the HRR mechanism. And this confers sensitivity to PARP inhibition, of which BRCA1 and 2 and ATM are the most well known. So PARP inhibitors can work in all HRR alterations. PROFOUND trial is a trial of metastatic CRPC, phase 3, showing the efficacy of olaparib versus new hormonal agents. The investigators assessed radiological progression on prior newer hormonal agents, that is abiraterone and enzalutamide, for metastatic prostate cancer or CRPC is mandatory. So one line of newer hormonal agent should be needed. These patients with ECOG of 0 to 2 are randomized to inhibitors, olaparib 300 BD, and the other arm is physician choice. And there are two arms. One is cohort A consisting of BRCA1 and 2 and ATM, and cohort B, rest of the HRR genes, which we will describe later. And the primary endpoint is RFS by BICR in the cohort A, that is BRCA1 and 2 and ATM. And the secondary endpoints are BICR confirmed ORR, overall response rate in cohort A, and RPFS, cohort A and B, and overall survival in cohort A. This is that cohort A and 2. Cohort B consists of multiple genes selected based on the foundation gene panel. BARD1, BRIP1, CDK1, 12, CHEK1, CHEK2, FANCL, PALB2, PPP, 2R, 2A, RAD51B, RAD51C, RAD51D, RAD54L. And the cohort A is BRCA1 and 2 and ATM. And the genes in the cohort B are considered exploratory. The baseline characteristics are well balanced between the two arms. The average age above 65 years are randomized well across the two groups. Gleason score around 65% were above age. Like that. The arms were well balanced. And like you can see from the slides, BRCA2, ATM and CDK2 are most prevalent genes of qualifying gene alteration in the randomized clinical in the randomized patients. BRCA1 constitutes around 6.2, BRCA2 56.2, ATM 39.5. And it has met its primary endpoint, which is the RPFS, radiological PFS in the BICR. That means blinded independent control review in patients with BRCA1, BRCA2, and ATM versus the physician choice. At 6 months PFS, 59.76 versus 22.63, and 12 months PFS is 28.11 versus 9.4. And median PFS is 7.39 in the olaparib versus 3.55 in the physician choice. And there is a median difference of 3.84 months, and the hazard ratio is 0.34, and the p-value is highly significant. And the benefit is seen across the subgroups. So those subgroup comparison is not, the study is not powered to demonstrate the difference in the subgroup. You can see that prior taxanes, no prior taxanes, HR is 0.55, previous taxane it is 0.28. And as we can see that both visceral and bone-only metastasis, they are all responding equally well. And ECOG 1 and 2 are also hazard ratio is 0.25 and 0.25 respectively. You can see that geographically, Asian population's hazard ratio is slightly less impressive compared to Europe and North America, North and South America. And if you are seeing the overall response rate, 33% response rate, 33.3% response rate in olaparib versus 2.3 in the physicians. And if you are seeing full OS is not mature, if you are seeing the favorable trend in OS, that is also seen at 6 month and 12 months intervals, and 18 months, 18 months it is 56.3 versus 42.13. The median OS in the olaparib 18.5, and the physician choice is 15.11. Hazard ratio is 0.64. If you are seeing in the cohort A plus B, that is a secondary endpoint. If you are seeing that clubbing that two groups, then also the median PFS is 5.8 in the olaparib and 3.52 in the physician choice. And if you are seeing the PFS in the cohort A and B, also it is seen across the subgroups, and we can see that we cannot compare the subgroup between the subgroups, but if you are seeing that it's all on the left side of the median. And response rate of A plus B, like in the previous slides, is also highly impressive, 21.7 months in the olaparib and 4.5 in the physician choice. So if you are seeing the A plus B OS also, the median OS is 17.51 versus physician choice of 14.26 in the comparative arm. So clubbing together the PFS in the cohort A, progression or death is seen only in 58.6 in the olaparib arm. In the cohort B, it is 72.3, and in the cohort A plus B, that is also here cohort A and A plus B both are impressive. And investigator assessed PFS is 9.79 in the cohort A, and in the cohort A plus B is 7.52. So if you are seeing that the gene by gene median PFS, though you cannot compare like that, the study is not empowered to show such a difference, but you can see that BRCA2 is highly impressive, followed by RAD51, CDK12, ATM and all. But like I mentioned, gene level analysis is complex and exploratory. Comparison may be confounded by small sample size, lack of stratification at the gene level, and limited knowledge. And what about the median duration of treatment? It's almost double that of the physician choice. And adverse effects, grade 3 and more, are seen in 50.8 months and 37.7 months in the physician arm. Interruption due to adverse effects, 44.9 months in the olaparib arm and physician choice 18.5. Dose reduction, 22.3 in olaparib, and discontinuation due to adverse effects, 18% in the olaparib arm and 8.5 in the physician choice arm. And here you can see that since the more number of patients have more the period of patients taking olaparib, they receive twice as long as the control arm. So more the duration, more the side effects. But you can see that the grade 3, like you can see grade 3, the darker shade is very less. Of any grade 3 adverse effects were around 50%. Anemia is around 21.5, and fatigue is around 2.7, and vomiting 2.3, and dyspnea around 2.3. So among the grade 3 side effects, anemia is the most troublesome, constituting around 21.5%. And here we will summarize the side effects. Hematological toxicity is a recognized complication in other indications also. 21.5% of the patients experienced grade 3 and above anemia, and 3.9% grade 3 neutropenia, and 3.5% grade 3 thrombocytopenia. And MDS and AML, since they are DNA involving agents, repair involving agents, is seen only in less than 1.5%. And no patients were in profound study. It is not seen at all. Here 1.5% is across the other studies. Pneumonitis is seen in less than 1%, and equal number of patients were seen in the control arm also. So to summarize, PROFOUND is the first positive biomarker selected phase 3 study showing targeted therapy in hormone responses and metastatic CRPC, and olaparib is the only PARP inhibitor to improve OS. And it met all the endpoints, the radiological PFS, overall response rate, TTPP, and despite more than 80% of the crossover, and the favorable trend in the OS in the BRCA1 and 2 and or ATM and cohort A plus B population are maintained. And it is well tolerated, and safety profile is consistent with the olaparib studies in the other cancers. So to summarize, we will not go into the testing methodologies because of the lack of time. So we will do the NCCN recommendation, which are I'll show the NCCN recommendation and summarize our presentation today. This is the current 2020 NCCN recommendation. And regional prostate cancers, any T-N1 disease, consider testing for HRR mutations and MSI and mismatch repair deficiency. Metastatic HRR mutation and tumor testing for MSI and DMMR are recommended. So in all node positive and metastatic, you can do this testing. And somatic testing, a few words. Recommend evaluating the tumor for alterations in the homologous recombination of the DNA repair, such as BRCA1 and 2, ATM, PALP2, FANCA, RAD51D, CHEK2, CDK12 in metastatic prostate cancer. The testing can be considered in regional prostate cancer also. And if mutation the BRCA1, BRCA2, ATM, PALP2, CHEK2 are found, there is a or there is a strong family history, counseling is needed. And if germline mutation is suspected, the patient should be recommended follow-up with the genetic counseling and dedicated germline testing. And in the germline testing, the panel recommends inquiring about family and personal history of the and family's history of germline variants at the time of diagnosis. If patients was tested and had negative results, the clinician should inquire about the details of the testing. Germline testing is recommended for any of the following: high risk, very high risk, regional, or metastatic. So, among the regional, high risk and very high risk, in the or metastatic, Ashkenazi Jewish history, a family history of BRCA1 and Lynch mutation, a positive family history of multiple cancers. So genetic counseling support is critical. Post testing counseling is also recommended. And among the unknown significance mutations, if the family history is positive, genetic counseling is also given. So we will summarize here. If there are any questions, we will answer that.